Thank you, John and Mark. Welcome to this gathering hosted by the Unitarian Universalist Church of Bowling Green. Whether you are here in person or online, we are so glad that you are joining with us. My name is John Foreman, and I will be your service associate today. So, it's really good you're here. I don't know about you all, but sometimes when I enter into this space, I've got stuff in my head that I've been dealing with, that I am dealing with, or I think I need to deal with. And this is a unique opportunity for us to be here together and hear what these two folks have to share with us. And I do believe you're going to give us a little bit of explanation as we walk through some of the music, since it's so different for many of us, right?
A lot of bit of explanation.
Thank you so much for that. I'd like to also take a moment to remind all of us to set our cell phones to silent so we can be fully present with one another. This service is being live streamed now, and in the small lounge near the main entrance of the building, if this large room isn't comfortable for you, you are welcome to excuse yourself and go to the lounge to watch the service as well. We are a welcoming congregation. Whoever you are, however you identify, wherever you come from, and whoever you love, you are welcome here. Our Sunday services are different each week so that we can honor and learn from a wide array of traditions and beliefs. Today, our speaker is John Thomerson. I'm going to go ahead and share John's bio, and then I believe he's going to also share a word or two about his sidekick. John Thomerson is a member of our congregation here at UUCBG. He has played the Mbira for 4 years and traveled to Zimbabwe this summer to learn more about the music and culture of the Shona people. He has a PhD in historical musicology from the University of Cincinnati College Conservatory of Music. Today he will be talking about Shona Spirituality, music and religious practices in Zimbabwe. So thank you both for being here. You want to say one? Okay.
like to introduce my Mbira partner. He's a third of our Mbira group, Mbira Zama Ungira, which means the echoing Mbira or the resounding Mbira. You're an entomologist. He lives in Columbus, Ohio. We actually met in Zimbabwe this summer. We've been joking all weekend that this is not the furthest either one of us has traveled to play Mbira with each other. So he's an excellent Mbira player. He also has a marimba group. We're playing at the Ohio Gourd Festival, so if anybody's in Columbus next weekend, come check us out.
Again, thank you, John and Mark. We're really glad that you made the trip and that you're with us. So now we will light the chalice. For Unitarian Universalists, the flaming chalice is a symbol of the light of learning and the love of our community. As our congregation's chalice is lit, we invite you to light your own chalice at home. This morning, our chalice will be lit by Derek Taylor. Have a reading. Do you want to do the reading with me? Rise up, O flame,
The lyrics from Ted Douglas.
by thy light.
So our first reading are going to be some of the lyrics we're going to be singing here in a moment. A lot of the Shona songs are basically prayers. Tadzonga ira means we are suffering, we are wandering, we need help. It's a common theme you'll hear in a lot of these lyrics. Michelle, if you would skip this slide, please, and then the next slide, please. My Shona is very small. So I'm going to read the Shona part, which is you know what the Shona part is. It's the part you probably don't understand. And if you can read the italics in the English, we'll do like a call and response, which is also very typical in Zimbabwe. Ho zuva, ne zuva, hunzi yarira mere. Day after day, we hear morning cries. Nai mwariwe, mwariwe. O Creator, O Creator. Nai mwariwe, mwariwe. Wendo wandi fungiza mudonjo. Mudonjo wababa vangu.
My father is walking stick.
Mudonjo wababa vangu.
My father is walking stick.
Ruendo mudonjo mudonjo.
Journey the walking stick, the walking stick.
Tadzungaira mambo. Nerera zenu mambo.
Your orphan's great ancestor.
Nerera zenu mambo.
Your orphan's great ancestor.
Nerera zenu mawari.
Your orphan's great ancestor. Your orphan's creator.
Zubane Zuba Hunziari Ramere Mariwe Mariwe Nai Mariwe Mariwe Rendo Wandi Fungiza Mudonjo Mudonjo Donjo wa ba 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 Donjo wa ba 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 Rendo Mudonjo Rendo Wandi Fungiza Mudonjo Mudonjo Donjo wa ba 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 Donjo wa ba 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 Rendo Mudonjo Rendo Wandi Fungiza Mudonjo Mudonjo Donjo wa ba 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 Donjo wa ba 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 Rendo Mudonjo Tatsugaira Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Tatsugaira Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Oh yeah, oh yeah, Tatsugaira Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Oh yeah, oh yeah, Tatsugaira Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo Narira Zenyu Mambo
We will now have a unison reading. Michelle, have we got it on a slide?
We just did that.
Oh, so
Oh,
what
sorry.
we
Oh, the unison part.
yeah,
sorry.
the UU unison reading. We get to participate. I invite you to share together, reciting the words on the screen, the UU shared values, interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our place in it. Pluralism. We are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. Okay, so now we will sing the children out to the RE. Go now in peace. And now we'll have a time of inviting the singing bowl and silent meditation. Reflection and prayer. I will invite the bowl and it will lead us into silence. After the silence, you're invited to join in the song Spirit of Life, which is hymn 123 in the gray hymnal, or the words on the screen.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's been a thrilling weekend. Mark and I played at the International Festival, so we taught dance, we played a bunch, we played for people, we played for no people. It was a lot of fun, so this is a wonderful continuation of that. Thank you all for having us, and thank you again to Mark for joining in and participating. It's very much a duet music, and so some of you have been hearing me learn in public by myself over the last 3 years, so it's been nice to have you get a sense of what it's actually supposed to sound like. So this morning, I want to introduce you to Signoro, Koshin Shonai. Shonai is his family name, Koshin is his given name, Signoro is his totem name, so it's a way of respect, and it's kind of an honorific. That's how I'm going to be referring to him. Signoro practices traditional Shona religion. While the Shona people are Zimbabwe's largest ethnic group, Signoro's Shona beliefs place him in a minority of religious Zimbabweans. According to a 2022 government survey, about 85% of Zimbabweans are some form or fashion of Christian. So this is a consequence of British colonialism. It's a consequence of just the very challenging living conditions within Zimbabwe. But Signoro continues Shona religion and culture, and he does this through a couple of different roles. He does this as a Naanga, which is a traditional healer. He's the medium of his great-great-great-great-grandfather's spirit, who was also an outstanding Mbira player. He's a husband to Susan, who's an excellent cook, as we can both attest to. He's the father of 4 children, Lasson, Nancy, Prince, and Milton, and he's a grandfather. He's a farmer. He owns a surprisingly aggressive male turkey, as we discovered to our continued delight in Zimbabwe. Signora is also a Gwenyarimba, an Mbira master who performs in ceremonies. He teaches Mbira in his local school, and that program is partially funded in part thanks to you all, so Maita Basa again for that. He hosts students from all around the world at his home in the Nyamwera era of rural Mandoro in the Chegutu district in the Mashonaland West province of Zimbabwe. So if you're following along in your mental maps of Zimbabwe, if you picture Harare, go over and down a little bit. You don't have a mental map of Zimbabwe ready? His music is why I fell in love with and began learning this instrument in a serious way. Today I'll share more about Signoro and my experiences playing with him to illustrate some specifics about how Shona people worship and how Mbira music helps them worship. Though specific to Mbira music, these details illuminate a lot of broader themes, including our human desire for community, how music creates and models our ideal relationships, our ideas of an afterlife, what we believe happens to our loved ones once they die, and who we can turn to for help. Let me start by talking about community. I imagine that a desire to make connections brought many of us here today, or keeps us coming here week after week. Connections are an essential element of human experience. We can only be ourselves in relation to other people. For this reason, the first of our shared values as UUs is interdependence, and as we read earlier, we honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our place in it. While vital, true connections can be precious and unfortunately rare. For Westerners, our culture values individuality, which is great. It leads to personal strength, it leads to independence, but it also can lead to weak communal ties and in a lot of cases, loneliness. Fortunately, our second shared value, pluralism, reminds us that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology, and this encourages us to draw lessons from the ways that different faith traditions create community. How does Mbira music create community for the Shona people? As you'll hear and experience here in a few minutes, and as you've heard some with the reading, call and response relationships are at the very heart of this music and of many African musics more generally. When Signoro and I played a song like Naimambo, we performed distinct yet interlocking parts. Neither part was complete without the other. In performance, each Mbira player supports and comments on what their partner offers. Like when I would vary my part to emphasize a middle range, Signoro would bring out a bass melody and counterpoint. If I would play a high line, kind of cascading down from the top of the instrument, Signoro would lock in and kind of play those same notes off a pulse. You had this kind of long, descending, braided melody. And when I would sing a bass part, Signoro would respond with a high, yodeling vocal part. Mbira music's conversational and interactive nature results from these call and response relationships between the instruments, between the voices, between the players, as we'll talk about in a minute, between the people attending the performance. We can hear examples of similar patterns elsewhere in Shona life. Consider today's first reading, or the morning greetings that Signoro and I would offer each other in Zimbabwe. In Zimbabwe, you do a lot of clapping as a way of kind of honoring the other person and kind of getting their attention. So in the mornings, my Shona has gotten much better since then, but it never came out this well in Zimbabwe. We'd say, Mangwanani, which means good morning, and the other person would answer, Mangwanani. You would ask, Mamukase, how did you wake up? The person would usually answer, Tamuka mamukawo, I woke up well if you did. And you would answer, Tamuka. I love the relational aspect of this greeting. I am well if you are well. For me, there's an empathy built in, a genuine desire to connect with the other person wherever they are. You've all probably had that experience when you ask somebody how they're doing, and they're like, oh, terrible, and you're like, oh, good, because you're not really listening. You're expecting kind of that placeholder. Again, we are only human when we're in community, and we're only in community when we listen to and respond to one another. How do our spiritual and musical practices create and model these communities? As Christopher Small argues, every musical performance creates and models our ideal relationships. Westerners are conditioned to experience these relationships very hierarchically, very top-down. There's usually one way of communication. There's a group of musicians, and there's a group of non-musicians, and the music typically goes from the one down to the other. There's usually other mediating factors. You're on stage, there's lights, there's microphones, there's barriers between the people making the music and the people for whom the music is being made. Now, these relationships are valuable. They lead to an incredible level of specialization. Think about John Coltrane, think about Jerry Garcia, think about our music crew. Like, you can do a lot with those kinds of relationships. They also build barriers between us. They include some and exclude others from the joys of making music. We can draw different lessons from the ways that different cultures create different relationships with their music. Most of the world's other cultures are participatory. They value participation. So during our service last summer, we experienced some of this when I was teaching you some vocal parts. And if you remember all those, you're in luck, because you're going to have another chance to practice those today. If you don't remember, fear not. We'll go through them. But we got to experience that participatory nature. We'll experience it today. Participatory music creates communities where everyone has a role to play, and where the performance is only successful when everyone is participating. Now, contrast that with Western music. Sometimes, if it's the Nashville Symphony, a good performance is them playing well. It doesn't really matter what I take out of it, my response to it, how engaged I am. If they're playing well, it's a successful performance. With Mbira music, we can be playing our butts off, we can be having the best Mbira day of our lives, but if people aren't singing or dancing or clapping or engaging, it's not really a successful performance, because it's meant to lift all boats as you're playing. When Signoro played with us in Zimbabwe, the rest of us would dance, we would ululate, we would add hand claps, we would sing, we would listen. The Mbira players would respond to each other and to the community's feedback with what they were playing, with how they were playing, how they were improvising. So even though we all weren't technically playing Mbira, we were all making Mbira music together. Our musical and social relationships were centered around reliance, around listening, being responsive, being communicative, being interdependent, and living with exchange. So some of this, you might wonder, how does this connect with Shona's spiritual beliefs? The call and response relationships, those patterns, and the participatory nature of that music, you can think about them as a metaphor for the interactions that living Shona have with their deceased ancestors. The Shona believe that death does not remove a person from their community or end their relationships with their ancestors. The deceased remain present in the world, acting on it and on the living. Shona ceremonies provide a call and response relationship between the spirit world and between this world. And in Mbira music, a lot of Zimbabweans kind of describe it as the telephone. You can kind of get in touch with the spirit world. It helps the living remain in community with all of their ancestors. I cut like 8 pages of this, so we're only going to do a little bit of it. There's much more to this, and feel free to tackle me afterwards if you want the longer version. Today, we're only going to consider 2 classes of spirits. There's family spirits, known as Vadzimu. Vadzimu is the translation for spirit. This specific type of Mbira is called the Mbira Zavuzimu, the Mbira of the ancestors. These are spirits who deal with local matters, misfortune, illness, and death, affecting individuals typically within their lineage. So it's typically people that you knew, family members, relations, people you have a blood connection with. The second class of spirits are deceased chiefs, royal ancestors, people who would control larger communities, known as Mandoro or Makombwe. They deal with regional matters, so floods, famines, droughts, pandemics, issues impacting the whole nation, those kinds of spirits. The living continue their relationship with both of these classes of spirits, and they show their respect by remembering them. They honor their values, they brew and offer a traditional 7-day beer, they share family news, they thank the spirits for their protection. The living also ask their family spirits for help dealing with problems and for intercession of their prayers up to more powerful spirits. I was raised Roman Catholic, so the idea that you had like this whole pantheon of saints to kind of help get your prayer up I guess, around the other people's prayer, like you had a back door into God. I didn't really understand as a kid. I'm not trying to make light of it, of just what I took from it. But that aspect of Shona culture made a lot of sense, the idea that you have other people interceding with the Creator on your behalf. When the ancestors feel honored, they protect the living. When they do not feel honored, they withdraw their protection, or they can actively cause harm. They can create illness, they can help create droughts, those kinds of things. The ceremonies through which Shona communicate with their ancestors vary from region to region, so everything I'm saying is very site-specific to Señoro's village in this part. When we stay there, he invited us to attend a ceremony. He was assisted by his wife, Susan, who we called Mbira, which is kind of the honorific for either a grandmother or a revered elder woman. She met with us before the ceremony to share what we could expect and to establish some ground rules. One of these ground rules was no jewelry. They include glasses as part of jewelry, so please know that your primary source for this was somebody who could not see so well. We gathered outside the ancestors' hut. It was a traditional round hut. It was set slightly back from Señoro's home, and it was specially reserved for ceremonies. We filled in to take our places. There were textiles and tapestries hanging down. Señoro was seated on a platform along a back wall. He was wearing ceremonial clothing. He would make a very low vocalization as we all entered as a way of greeting us. So his son sat on another side, and Mbira was at his feet. Mbira, his wife, was basically there as a translator, both from the English to the Shona, but also from the deep Shona, like the old-time Shona of the ancestors, into Shona that was more conversational, more everyday. Señoro was possessed. He spoke in a deep voice in between pinches of sacred snuff called bute. He actually gave some of that to us. We actually sprinkled it on the stage before he performed yesterday as a way of honoring him and his music. And through Mbira, Señoro would share instructions with his son about how to tend the homestead when they were on an upcoming trip. Mbira also explained that because Señoro's mother had died within the last year, they hadn't performed the right ceremonies, the Guava ceremony. So originally the plan was that Señoro was going to translate our questions up to the ancestors, to his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, get advice and wisdom back from the spirit world. But because his mother had passed and they hadn't done the ceremonies, he wasn't able to get in touch with them. So I want to talk a little bit of the Guava ceremony. Think about some of the funeral rituals and traits we have in the Christian world, in the Western world. These are common in the Shona world as well. There's all sorts of other ceremonies, for weddings, for births, for burials, for baptisms, certain times in the agricultural seasons, like harvest or Thanksgiving. There's also all-night ceremonies called Mbira, the plural of which is bira, which is kind of the same root as the instrument Mbira. I'm going to share a little bit about these ceremonies to help explain how Mbira music helps communicate between the spirit world and between the living world. So Mbira players are actually responsible. They're the ones who kind of facilitate possession of the spirit mediums, and thus basically they're responsible for the whole success of the ceremony. One of the ways they do this is by playing older songs that are passed down through oral tradition, in some cases through hundreds of different years. Because the ancestors enjoyed this music when they were alive, those songs were familiar while they were in this world, the Mbira players will play them to attract the spirits. Señoro, I was texting with him to get ready, which is super cool. I don't want to brag, but I text with Señoro. I live a very exciting life. Señoro said that the type of ceremony determines which types of songs are played accordingly. So Mbira players have to know a lot of the traditional repertory, and they also have to know which parts and which variations not only go together and interlock, but are going to be appropriate for calling the spirits and getting in touch with the ancestral spirits. Another Gwenya Rimba, Cosmos Magaya, explains that Mbira players see what movements of the music call the attention of the spirits and closely watch the mediums who are supposed to be getting possessed. He describes how performers gauge how the medium is responding to his body language or way of dancing. If we see we're playing a variation that's not effective, we move on to something else. When we switch to what the spirit really wants, we see the spirit medium nodding along with our music or shaking his body. And when you see the medium is about to be possessed, you have to play more and more energetically, emphasizing those parts until you see that possession is taking place. He likens it to like cooking over a fire. If you want your pot to boil, you push more firewood underneath, and you add more and more until it reaches the boiling point. Once that happens, once the spirit settles within the medium's body, the musicians adjust their playing. They'll lower the intensity. Sometimes they'll stop playing altogether. Sometimes they'll play just kind of quietly in the background, depending on whatever the spirit wants. The community members will arrange themselves before the attendants or the interpreter. They'll approach the mediums with problems, speak, offer advice, offer wisdom or family news to the ancestors. Magaya explains that as an Mbira player, once this happens, he's achieved his goal. The reason I've been playing Mbira, the spirits have come by now. It's like you've been cooking a big pot of meat, and now it's nearly done. At that point, you don't need to add more firewood in the fire. You just keep enough embers going to keep the temperature steady. After everyone consults with the medium, the musicians resume playing, and the ceremony continues. At this point, it's verges more on a party. People will sing and play and dance and drink the traditional beer, often until the very early hours of the morning. So how does Mbira music serve as this telephone? How does it evoke these trance states that kind of bridge the living with the spirit world of their ancestors? The cyclic and gradually evolving structure of the music, the tight interlocking cross rhythms, the cascading flows of high lines, the contrast and timbre between the brighter metallic keys and the richer warmth of the vocals, the freshness and in-the-momentness that comes from spontaneity and improvisation, the shimmering buzz that's created by the rattling bottle caps around the dezes, the overtones. This is one of the pure beauties of Mbira music to me. When you play together with someone, there's sounds that result, there's melodies that come up that no one is actually playing. It's coming from the overtones bouncing against the back of the deze. So you have these like kind of rivulets of melody that'll trickle out even though no one's actually playing them. So sometimes it'll sound like there's a third Mbira. It's truly wonderful. All of these different factors combine to create this kind of floating feeling of timelessness. We might have heard people talk about a flow state. When you're totally engaged in something, it's just challenging enough to hold your attention, but not so challenging that it's knocking you out of the moment or causing you to think too much. Mbira music helps kind of create these states. It helps the participants, the players, the dancers, the singers, the spirit mediums, the ancestors, enter into a flow state where the rest of the world falls away and their intention concentrates intensely on each moment. Through the call and response relationships and its participatory nature, the Mbira functions as a telephone to the spirit world. It helps the Shona connect with their ancestors for help and for guidance. Signoro and our other teachers this summer had much to share this summer, and perhaps for me, the most significant lesson was about the cultural and the religious significance. A lot of our teachers would talk about Mbira music being a form of praying, or the songs you're offering up as prayers. So when we're playing and singing together a little, don't worry so much about the text, even the notes of it. Just kind of have that attitude in mind. It's meant to be participatory. If it sounds a little off, that's okay. The important thing is that you're joining with us. You're offering these prayers to your ancestors, to the ancestors more generally. Thank you very much. We're going to play a little and teach you some different vocal parts. Maestro, the next slide, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. So this is a song called Nema Musasa, which means cutting branches to build a temporary shelter. Again, very timely with all the rain we've been having. I'm gonna let's do the pronunciation first. So you're gonna be the call part. This is on my right, your left. So a quick bit about Shona pronunciation. All the vowels are similar to Spanish vowels, so A, E, I, O, U. And each time you have a vowel, you have a new syllable. So every time A, E, I, O, or U comes up, that's the end of the syllable. This particular set of lyrics, they're vocables. If you think of like fa la 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 la, they're fun to sing. They don't technically have any semantic content. They don't mean anything, but it's a good call and response part. It's I have to remember this. So it's ha-ye. I'm going to say it and have you repeat the words back. So ha-ye, wo-ye, wo-ye, nde-ha-ha. The NDE syllable is one we don't have a lot of in English, but it's nde, nde-ha-ha. So ha-ye, wo-ye, wo-ye, nde-ha-ha. Perfect, see? Now the notes. So. That's the first half. It's a little long. You've got this, and we're going to do it a bunch. So, I'm going to play it and sing it, and I'll have you all join in. Ha ye wo ye de ha ha. Ha ye wo ye de ha ha. Good. So you have that little rising bit, and the rest of it is descending basically one note to the next. So the second. Let's actually do that part again. So, ha ye wo ye de ha ha. The second part starts a little bit higher and then just descends. Hi, hi, ye, wo, ye, wo. Sorry. Hi, ye, wo, ye, wo, ye, day, ha, ha. Hi, ye, wo, ye, wo, ye, day, ha, ha. Good. You all are picking this up very quickly, which is nice. Do you want to? Let's sing that a couple times. We'll do it in the cycle together, so you can kind of hear. It comes at the very beginning of the cycle and the very end of the cycle. So we're going to start playing, and I'll bring you all in. And once everything's kind of rocking along, I'll switch to some of the lead parts. Hi, wo, ye, day, ha, ha. 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 Hi, wo, ye, day. So keep singing. Hi, wo, Nima musasa keringe zuva nau ichaya. Nima musasa. Nima musasa keringe zuva nau ichaya. Nima musasa. Perika, 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 mukura mukaranga. Perika, 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 mukura mukaranga. Takona waja hichi famba. Dakono waja hichi famba. Dikati dawona mukurango. Wo ye re re hai wo ye Nema musasa karenge zuba namu ishaya Nema musasa wo ye re re ye wo ye re re oh ha wo ye re re ha yarira goma wo ye yarira goma re 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 ha ye wo ye Maite basa.
Thank you. So now we will have the offertory. This congregation and the work we do is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who contribute. The offering is a sacrament of the free church. You may place your donation in the plate as it comes around, or on your way out, or you can use the QR codes that, yes, we have on the screen. Or if you choose, you can mail your offering into the church office. As we enjoy the music, the offering will be given and received in grateful appreciation for our shared hopes and values.
Does anybody need the QR code, or can I switch to the next lyrics? You're a cash-based group. I love it. Michelle, would you switch to the Karagamombe lyrics, please? Yeah, perfect. So you all get to sing again. Karagamombe is usually the first Mbira song that people learn. It kind of loosely translates as undefeatable. It literally means one who can wrestle a bull to the ground, so think strong thoughts. The vocal parts, I'm going to do the lyrics again, then I'll teach you the melody. So it's Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Would you go one more slide, please, Michelle? Perfect, thank you. So I'll do all the whole thing. So Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Wait, so. So Vana, Vanga, Vapera. Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vangu, Wo. Vana, Vangu, Wo. Let's do that a few times. Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vangu, Wo. Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vangu, Wo. Good. So let's do it with put it together with the Mbiras. There'll be more space in between the singing, so we'll do it all together a few times so you can hear. Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vangu, Wo. Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vangu, Wo. Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vangu, Wo. Good. Just keep singing that. Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Ai wa Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vanga, Vapera, Mambo. Ai wa Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vana, Vanga, Vapera, Mambo. Ai wa Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vaka pera nemu Mbira. Ai wa Vana, Vangu, Vapera. Vaka pera nemu Mbira. Sekuru e zingae mapere. Zingae mapere. Ai wa dasarandega. Dasarandega. Ai wa dega. Dino karandega. Oh hey hey. You all sound good doing this. We should do this every week. It was democracy at work. We're going to count that as a yes for every week with the Mbira music.
Well, we thank you for your participation, and we thank you for these gifts. May we use them wisely in the service of our congregation and our community. At this time, I would like to extend an invitation to membership. If you have questions about the Unitarian Universalism or about joining this congregation, please speak with one of our membership team members. Do we have anybody from the membership team? Yes, thank you very much for being here. You can look them up in the hallway, or you can email membership at the church office. The information is available on the bulletin board. I've got a handwritten invitation related to it, if I can find it. Oh, here we go. Here we go, I found it, buried in amongst our papers. So there's going to be a fall Getting to Know Unitarian Universalism event on Tuesday evening, October 8th, from 5:30 to 8 o'clock. And according to this announcement, we'll meet in the fellowship hall. The membership team will answer any questions you might have, as well as all will share where we are in their spiritual journey. It's always an informative and enjoyable evening. Light refreshments will be available. If you hope to come, please sign up on the table outside in the sanctuary. It'll be this paper here, or contact the church office. Okay. We welcome you to inquire. There's no pressure. It's a great way to get to know a bit more about UU. Community news. Have we got slides? Yes, we have slides. I am told that we're going to be calibrated on my paper with the slides. We shall see, so I don't have to turn around. And in case you haven't heard the chuckles from the back, that is Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for keeping us on track. We really appreciate it. Okay, so please send all of your items for the newsletter to the editor at uucbg.org by tomorrow, because that's coming up for the newsletter. Donations are being accepted for the Labyrinth project. The bake sale, which is on the slide here with Wild Ones native plant sale, has been rescheduled. In case you didn't notice it, it's been raining quite a bit. So it's been rescheduled to this coming Saturday, October the 5th. And we offer thanks to Dr. Miwan Cho for organizing last week's workshop on Islamic art. Thank you so much. We also thank Dr., and I apologize if I don't get the pronunciation correct, Mona Hussein, one of the workshop's presenters. She has given our congregation her lovely artwork. Thank you so much. Next Sunday, please come to the free workshops, Elements of Dance. It'll be from 1 to 4 in the neighboring building. Next Sunday, our speaker will be Annie Scott. The topic is Imagination in Faith. We will also be having our monthly potluck. So we look forward to sharing with one another at the potluck. And I have a late arrival announcement for an event that is at 1:30 this afternoon. Is that right? Can't remember who gave me this. Diane, I think, gave me this. Join in the NAACP event at State Street Baptist Church. I believe she wrote down 1:30 to 4 p.m. And we, UU, will have a table at the event. So please consider stopping by there this afternoon. Okay, I believe that's it. And please check out the bulletin board. There's more info out there. And if you do want to receive the newsletter and you are not currently receiving it, please get with the church office and we'll get you on our mailing list. And do we have a final hymn?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Michelle, could you switch to the Chiguaya slide, please? So Chiguaya is a type of fish. It's a type of bream fish for the naturalists among us, but it's also kind of a symbol for the Njuzu, the mermaid spirits that are used. These are not like your Little Mermaid Disney like mermaid spirits. They're more like the Hans Christian Andersen mermaid spirits. So they're often mischievous and can be detrimental if you're traveling in or on water. So this is not only a prayer for safety from them, but also a prayer for the water that gives food and life in an agricultural community. So this is the last part that we'll be singing. It's a little bit wordier, but there's only 4 notes, so we kind of balance everything out. So the words are Chi no Tamba, Mudziva, Macho. So Chi no Tamba, Mudziva, Macho. You all have that, but do you want to do it again? Just to... Okay, so Chino Tamba, Mudziva, Macho. And then the melody is quite simple. Chino Tamba, Mudziva, Macho. Ta 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 ta. Chino Tamba, Mudziva, Macho. Oh, good, yeah. Chino Tamba, Mudziva, Macho. Good. So let's get into it. We're going to start Jishoma, which is like the only Shona I really learned in Zimbabwe, which means please play slower. And then we will go. I actually don't know the word for faster, so we'll do that.
Probably good.
Yeah. Macho Chihuahua, Waziva Macho Chihuahua, Waziva Macho Chibende, Waziva Macho Chibende, Waziva Macho Winjuzu, Waziva Macho Winjuzu, Waziva Macho Himayerera. Ziva macho di maerera, Ziva macho buya bauya, Ziva macho buya bauya, Ziva macho chihuahua, Ziva macho chihuahua, Ziva macho chihuahua, Ziva macho chihuahua. Waziva macho chihuahua, Waziva macho chihuahua, Waziva macho chipende, Waziva macho chipende, Waziva macho chipende, Waziva macho winjuzu, Waziva macho winjuzu. Macho di maerera, Waziva macho di maerera, Waziva macho pururuza, Waziva macho pururuza, Waziva macho di maerera, Waziva macho di maerera, Ie wo ye re, Ie wo ye re. Ye wo ye re, ye wo ye re. Waziva macho chihuahua, Waziva macho chihuahua, Waziva macho chibende,
oh yeah, re, re, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh, oh yeah, 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 oh yeah, re, re, yeah, motiva macho, booyah, booyah. Motiva macho, booyah, booyah. Motiva macho, booyah, booyah. Motiva macho and juju. Motiva macho and juju. Motiva macho di maierera. Motiva macho pururuza. Motiva macho pururuza. Let's give a big hand for Mark, who came from Columbus, so thank you. Maita basa.
Thank you, John and Mark. Wonderful. We now bid farewell to those who have joined us online. We hope you found this service meaningful, and we invite you to join us again, either in person or online. We also invite you to share your thoughts about today's service via our online forum or with the QR code by sending comments to Sunday services at uucbg.org. Be well and go in peace.